for the boys.
Woo! Oh, I fucked.
Alright, so what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. If you are new to the channel, my name is Chris. I just pretty much make vlogs about anything and everything. A lot of it's car related, it's skateboarding related. So if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing, stick around, and hopefully you guys learned something today. So if you're watching this video, it's probably because you may have an Integra, a 90 to 93 to be specific, and you're trying to K-swap it, and you kind of want to get an idea of how much you're going to be spending. So yeah, that's pretty much what I'm going to be going over, is kind of what you're going to need and how much it's all going to cost. And if you guys want to see another video after this of how it, like all the special parts you're going to need, then let me know in the comments below. But let's just jump right into this. Alright, so to start this off, pretty much obviously before you even consider doing the swap and collecting pieces for it, you're going to need to get yourself the engine and the transmission. So in my case, I have a K20 A2 out of a 2004 Acura RSX Type S, and I got it for dirt cheap because I went and picked it myself from the junkyard, and I got lucky, and it happened to be 50% off day. So, and the junkyard that I went to doesn't discriminate against like 4 cylinders, V6s, V8s, all engines are the same price. So I got my engine for $160. So if you're getting it from a third-party buyer or an import warehouse or wherever you get yours from, usually K20A2s range from like 500 anywhere up to like $1,000 that I've seen, maybe more, maybe less, depending on where you live. And then the transmission, obviously. So I picked up the transmission separately. This is actually the matching transmission to the car, or to the engine. I just had to track it down, but I paid $400 for it. Now that's pretty average, like $400 to $700 for this Type S 6-speed transmission. This one does not have LSD, for those of you wondering. But yeah, so already looking at around $1,500, give or take, for the engine, the transmission. And now let's just kind of get into everything else you're gonna need. So first thing right off the bat, you're gonna need to, once the motor's in the car, you're gonna need some axles. So I'm running Hasport Performance axles. Mine are kind of a custom set. I went and pulled some axles myself, and I assembled these myself using Hasport shafts with OEM Honda inner and outer joints from 94 to 97 Acura Integra joints. So that way they're a little bit more durable than aftermarket joints, but I get the correct length from the shaft that Hasport provided. So now that you got your engine there and you got some axles, you're also going to need to mount the engine in the car. So what you're going to need is a set of DA K-swap engine mounts. These are the DA K2 engine mounts made by Hasport using the new 62A Kevlar infused bulletproof urethane. So it's more resistant to tearing and whatnot, but that full set's probably going to run you, I think retail is like $550. So Innovative makes a set too, but if you really like playing a gambling game and you really like using cheap stuff, then by all means use Innovative. But if you like actually using quality parts and you like it looking good too, because you can get the Hasport ones, they come billet aluminum, or you can get them anodized in pretty much any primary color you can think of. So I choose quality. I went with Hasport, so thank you. So also, another thing you're going to need to do is, there's 2 ways to go about this for the alternator kit on these things, because obviously you can't use the stock one. Or you can't, if you're not going to be running AC and power steering, that is. So what you're going to need to do is get an EP3 idler pulley, which is what I'm using right now. I have the K-tuned alternator relocation kit, but there's the tricky part, is if you're using that, you cannot run the stock DA subframe. If you can fit the stock DA subframe in here, if you're just using the K-swap, but you have to use the EP3 idler pulley, because if you don't, it's not even begin to fit. So you can go ahead and get a K-tuned traction bar or an Innovative. They make good traction bars, they just don't make good mounts. But yeah, Innovative traction bar and the K-tuned alternator relocation kit I believe will work. Don't quote me on that. I do know for a fact that the K-tuned traction bar will work, and that is a complete replacement for the front subframe. So yeah, so it depends on which route you want to go. If you want AC and power steering, then you're going to have to use the EP3 idler pulley. If you don't, then you're going to use the K-tuned alternator relocation kit, and you're going to need to pick up a traction bar to go alongside with that. So on top of that, you're going to need to get yourself some fuel to supply the car, because the fuel system on K-Series, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's called a dead-end system. Probably not it, but I can't think right now. So essentially, you're gonna need a fuel pressure regulator. I chose to go with AEM because they're the most reliable that I know of, and I just trust their product. So that's gonna run you, I think, right around $150 for the AEM fuel pressure regulator. But then you're also, I recommend upgrading your fuel rail itself. I am also running the AEM fuel rail, which I was sent by Honda Street Garage, aka Mark. So shout out to him. But K-Tuned actually bought out the design for the AEM fuel rail, so if you're getting a K-Tuned fuel rail, you're getting the same exact thing I got. And then you're also going to need to make your own, either make your own fuel lines, or you need to buy a fuel line kit. I was fortunate enough to get a full tucked fuel line kit from JB Tuned, including a tucked filter, so I cannot give you a price. I'll have that in the description on how much that'll run you. But yeah, so fuel rail, fuel filter, fuel lines, and fuel pressure regulator, because like I said, you got to be able to supply the motor with fuel. So yeah, and then also on these DAs from factory, they use a cable transmission system. So you're going to need to toss that in the trash or throw it in your parts bin or whatever, and you're going to have to upgrade to a hydraulic conversion kit. I decided to go with the Hush Performance cable to hydro kit because it's quality and it looks sick, and because he's local out here and I love supporting the local guys. So that's what I used, and it works great, really. I mean, you can make your own, I'm sure, and there's probably other companies out there that make it, but I just know that Hush is the most trusted. So shout out to Robert, K-Series, for the shirt and cable to hydro kit. So yeah, that pretty much covers that. Next up, we're going to be having to do coolant sensors. So that's one of the few little miscellaneous things that a lot of people aren't going to list in forums and stuff. You can use your B series coolant temp sensor. You're going to need your coolant temp sensor and your radiator fan switch. So the way I did it's a little bit different, but yeah, you're going to need both of those essentially. So you can find those at junkyards, you can buy them new, either or. And then also, depending on the type of radiator you get, I'm using a Volkswagen Rabbit Mark 1 or first generation, or also known as a Volkswagen Sirocco, I believe, radiator. It's, depending on when you buy it, they're like 90 to 120 bucks on eBay. Dual core aluminum racing radiators, and I've had zero issues with cooling on this. And I'm using just a regular like $30 slim fan, 12-inch slim fan, and it's been doing pretty good. So yeah, but in order to do that, if you're going to be using a radiator like this, it's a closed radiator, meaning there's no filler neck or anything, so you're going to have to use an inline filler neck. And again, this is completely discretionary to which radiator you're using. So in my case, I went with a Marasso filler neck. It's like 40 bucks, and you just throw it in between somewhere up top above the radiators, that way you get proper like pressure and whatnot. That's probably not the right word, but you guys should know what I mean. So yeah, that's like 40 bucks, and then of course you're gonna have all the miscellaneous things to go with it: radiator hoses, coolant, oil filter, spark plugs, coil packs if your motor didn't come with them or whatnot, and then harness. That's the main issue. Putting the motor and everything physically in the car, that's the easy stuff. It's just the wiring is the tricky part. So I'm using a K-Tuner ECU, and I have no issues with it. It runs the car great. Currently on a Type S with bolt-on base mat. The car will be getting tuned here very soon, but that's just what it's running right now. And then the harness, I'm running a modified version of the Hasport EGK2 harness, which is the supplied harness that you can buy from Hasport, that basically it's a direct bolt-in for EG chassis if you're doing a K-swap. Just complete conversion harness, but we had to modify it, extend some wires and whatnot. So there is companies out there that do make full conversion harnesses for the DAs that do K-Series, and by all means, if you don't understand what you're doing, you don't understand wiring like I do, or like I don't, then I would go with one of those. But thankfully I had the best in the business to help me. So shout out to Brian from Hasport for doing all the wiring, as well as AD for being his henchman. Without you guys, this car would not be running. So yeah, if you are comfortable with your own wiring, then by all means do it. Get your own diagram, go pull some harnesses, and you'll have this done in no time. But yeah, alright, and then assuming that you got that far, motor and everything, harness is all hooked up, you're going to need to find a way to shift the car into gear, right? So I'm using a custom shifter setup that's kind of still in development from Hasport, something we're testing out. Essentially, it uses a custom plate and uses a 90 to 93 Accord or 86 to 89 Prelude shifter box, because those use cables. They're like cable transmissions, I guess. Sorry, cable shifters. So yeah, it's a nice little setup, and I'm just using stock RSX shift cables, I believe, and our custom shift setup. So it looks stock, and it allows me to just keep it simple. I don't have to cut up a center console. You can, by all means, if you can afford it, go with the K2 no cut. That's what I'll be doing eventually. Or if you want to use an RSX shifter and you don't care about having your center console, or you don't care about trimming your center console up, then you can go with that. But this is just what I decided to go with because I just wanted that like stock look. But yeah, and then of course you're also going to need an exhaust. Not necessarily full exhaust, that's totally up to you. But for the header, there's a couple of different companies out there that make header. I went with the budget one by going with K-Tune to their budget 4 to 2 to 1 swap header, and I have no issues. I mean, it's not the prettiest header after it's gone through a few heat cycles, but it's solid. It's got good flow, and I mean, we'll see here once we hit the dyno what the numbers are looking like. But I'm also running a full 3-inch exhaust made by Thermal, given to me by Dasby Designs on Instagram. So the car breathes really well, and it sounds really good. So no issues there. But yeah, so you're gonna need a header. I know K-Tune makes a couple different ones. I'm sure there's probably 40 other companies out there that make them, except for I don't think that there's one on eBay for it, which usually I don't really have any gripes on eBay headers because I'm not really one to go looking for big numbers or anything, especially because if you're going from a K swap to a B swap, that's already a huge gain in power right there, as is. So yeah, that's pretty much going to be it. So let's kind of look it over. Alright, so yeah, this is essentially what the outcome is going to be. I think all in all, your average K swap is going to range you right around like, I'd say $4,000 to $6,000, depending on how much of the parts you pull yourself, how good you are at sourcing parts, and how much of it you do yourself, really. So, yeah, like I said, Hasport mounts, Volkswagen Rabbit radiator, 12-inch slim fan, EP3 idler, AEM fuel rail, AEM fuel pressure regulator, Muraso filler neck, JB tuned fuel lines, Hush performance cable to hydro kit, just factory filler neck factory reservoir overflow or whatever, and still running the factory subframe brace. Oh yeah, the other thing you're gonna need is an aftermarket radius rod. So this one down here is made by Hasport Performance, so you're definitely gonna need one of those. So the reason that you're gonna need a aftermarket radius rod is because on the passenger side, that's where the crank pulley is on these. Yeah, so the reason you're going to need an aftermarket radius rod on the passenger side for the K-Series and these things is because that's where the crank pulley is. Now, when the suspension gets compressed, that crank pulley, stupid B, the crank pulley is going to end up hitting the radius rod. So basically the Hasport one just kind of dips down a little bit, and it clears it just fine. Now, depending on how low you are or whatever, you may need to get one for the passenger side too, or the driver's side, I'm sorry. I don't personally run one, and I'm pretty low, but I don't know. I don't know if that makes a difference, but yeah, I noticed my transmission has a little bit of a mark on it, a little bit of a grind down from the radius rod hitting it, but not absolutely necessary on the transmission side of the car. So definitely a necessity on the driver's side, or passenger side, my bad, the crank pulley side. Yeah, so that's pretty much going to sum up this video. A lot of you guys have been asking for it. A lot of you guys hopefully wanted to see it. So yeah, like I said, roughly $4,000 to $6,000 for your average person. Thankfully, I was blessed, and the car got sponsored by a few companies, and we did a lot of it ourselves, and I was able to work with the best in the business, and we got this thing done for dirt cheap, really. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to like, be sure to comment, be sure to subscribe. Stick around for the next video, and I kind of, like I said, I just do a lot of vlogging. A lot of it's around cars, a lot of it's around about skateboarding and whatnot. So if you guys are already a part of the channel, be on the lookout for stickers. Those will be out here very soon, finishing designing those up, and the first set of shirts. And anyways, guys, do what you love, forget about the rest, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.